Well, good after yesterday, friends one and all, and welcome back. We've got milk, cookies, and all the random Game Pass games you could possibly ask for. What's that? You only want to play a few? And you don't know which ones to play? Aw, shucks, well, do we have something for you today? I've channeled my inner mole rat and done some digging for some Game Pass games you might be interested in. Now, as always, this will not be a complete review of the game. This is for the people with no attention span, so I just try out the first few hours of a game and give you the rundown of my experience trying it out. Now, let's see if we're going to be in the Hall of Pass or the Hall of Ass. Oh, baby, calling the fat lady, because we're starting on a high note today. We're starting off with Ni no Kuni, Wrath of the White Witch by Bandai Namco, which released on Xbox in 2022. Now, if you'll be ever so generous as to allow me to break the rules just this once, I may or may not have already played this game and beaten it. However, I still thought I would go back and run through the intro and show you guys one of what I would consider the all-time Game Pass greats. Ni no Kuni is a monster collecting RPG mixed with real-time combat that was partnered with Studio Ghibli to make one of the most beautiful RPGs our generation will ever see. You start out in your small town of Motorville, out on a grocery run, before your friend comes to tell you that the secret project you've been working on is complete. Later that night, you sneak out to go see, and it's a small one-seater car. You and your friend go to take it for a test drive and an accident happens, leading to your mom dying. See, this is why you don't let 10-year-olds build cars. And after her funeral, the magic of dead mom brings your stuffed animal Mr. Drippy to life, where he explains that he comes from a whole different world of magic and that there might be a way to bring your mom back if you go with him. You get your book of spells, a magic wand, aka a big brown stick, and teleport to this magical world. I can't say enough good things about this game, and neither can other Xbox fans. Getting a 4.5 on Xbox with reviews like hard, you will be, and never thought I'd see the days. Just yes! Thumbs up. Ni no Kuni is all about battling and collecting different monsters that you can level up and evolve with different candies you collect throughout the world, as well as solving puzzles by using different spells you get in your travels that you keep in your little magic book of secrets. Or I guess not so secrets, since you only start out with one spell in your book. The game features lots of cutscenes, as many RPGs do, but oh boy, if you're a Studio Ghibli fan, then you'll be cacking your pants because the animation quality is on par, if not better than the movies. I enjoyed the hell out of this game the first time, and it felt even better the second time. The intro may be a little slow to start, seeing as it took me about 30 minutes before we got into the first real battle, but if you're an RPG fan and can get past this, you will have an absolute blast with this game. I give this the totally legit and not at all made up Game Pass Gold Ribbon and give it a 5 out of 5 big cats, and I will Game Pass this on to you. Onto a game I actually haven't played before, we have Rollerdrome by Private Division. This game is a skater shooter akin to the likes of Tony Hawk mixed with Max Payne. It's a very fast-paced game, all about pulling off tricks while you roller skate around to reload your gun so you can keep blasting away very suspecting enemies. I mean, look at you, you're the only one skating in a skate park. You stick out like a caveman at a vegan party. The beginning of the game is a hefty tutorial that runs you through all the mechanics of the game, aside from certain special effects that guns you unlock later may have. While I agree it is a bit boring to start, it's definitely necessary because once you get into the game, it's very fast-paced, and you need to put all the skills you just learned in action and start stringing up those combos like there's no tomorrow. Rollerdrome was kind of a mixed bag, but with overall positive ratings, getting a 3.8 on Xbox with reviews like Rollerball 1975/Running Man the game, boom, skate, shoot, and I mean, I kinda like it, and I would definitely fall into the latter statement. The game definitely isn't something you get into for the game theories and lore, seeing as there is no lore to be found as far as I can tell, as well as there being no real story at all for these missions, but it's just a high score based collection of levels with secret challenges akin to the secret challenges you'd find in a Tony Hawk's Pro Skater game. The way you unlock more levels is actually by completing these challenges, so the better you get at the game, the more levels you can unlock, as well as the more fun you'll be having. The game's combat system is very rewarding to those who can manage all the chainsaws it asks you to juggle at once, but if you can't, you'll definitely be having a hard time. There's a lot of enemies that fill up the levels, with there being different types that require you to engage them in different ways, like a basic enemy that will hit you if you get too close, or a sniper enemy that locks onto you and you need to dodge to avoid getting shot, or a big rocket shooting bitch that you go to shoot and if you're not quick enough to deal damage she'll just go invincible for a minute. I did start to get the hang of this game halfway through my playtime and did have a blast, but this is a pretty niche game and it probably won't be for everyone. I give this 3 broken ankles out of 5 and I'll Game Pass this on to you. Now, if first is the worst, second is the best, then third is the one with the polygon chest, because we've got Rise of the Tomb Raider, a game by Crystal Dynamics from way back in 2015. This game is technically a sequel to the Tomb Raider reboot from 2013, but honestly, you can just as easily jump into this one having played the first one as without. You start out in the snowy mountains of Siberia trying to find some lost temple and attempting to climb up before a massive avalanche comes down and knocks you out. You're then greeted with a flashback to when Lara Croft was in the desert trying to find another hidden temple, all of which was written and theorized by her father, who tried to hide it from an evil group called the Trinity, who is also after the artifacts potentially hidden in these temples. You make your way through this temple where you come to find there is no artifact, before encountering a group of heavily armed militia that look to be from the Trinity, surprise surprise. You then escape from them before we cut back to present time and have to make our way to shelter to survive the cold. You then try to figure out where exactly you are and where you're going before finding more of the Trinity showing up like a baby mama coming for that child support. This is a third-person action-adventure puzzle game with a very heavy emphasis on exploration and combat, featuring many puzzles solved with different upgrades you get throughout the game, with many different weapons and upgrades you can craft using materials you scrounge around. And if you've played the first Tomb Raider reboot, you realize that this game starts out almost exactly the same way that it did, hitting almost all the exact same beats. Don't let this scare you away though, because while the story isn't all that great, that's not exactly what Tomb Raider fans are interested in if you catch my drift. We all know that everyone's really here for those big jiggly bears, and the combat and exploration is still just as fun as the first game, with one of the new features being a translation skill meter that you level up by discovering different artifacts that have pieces of the language that you do know, so that you can eventually read bigger pieces that usually lead to secrets or treasures. The game scored very well, getting a 4.7 on Xbox, with reviews like "Daddy? Trash waste of Robux," and "Game Pass. So many games, so little time. Boy, do I hear you, brother." The game is a great time, and while yes, the story is a very standard Indiana Jones type adventure story, with the main plot basically just being find the treasure, sometimes that's all you really need, because at the end of the day, aren't we all just chasing that treasure? I'll give this 4 out of 5 polygons, which is still probably more than she had, and I'll Game Pass this on to you. Let's slow ourselves back down from so much high-octane action to bring it back to a much more relaxed game, with Figment, a game by Bedtime Digital Games from 2022. You start out as a child in the car with your parents on a rainy drive before a horrible accident happens, and you cut to our world, the world of imagination, where you control our ever-vigilant and ever-vulgar hero, Dusty, with his trusty sidekick, Piper, who has a much more optimistic outlook on life than us, apparently. We're trying to just relax and enjoy ourselves a nice little martini when suddenly it disappears. So we chase after it and see that a creature called Nightmare is terrorizing our home. We give chase, but it manages to escape and infect the land with other creatures too. So we must set out to set things right by solving Rube Goldberg-esque puzzles inspired by the wonder of childhood imagination, because obviously every kid loves puke rats. This is a very cute and very fun little adventure puzzle game with some combat, but mainly you'll just be running around trying to complete all the puzzles and finding little secrets that unlock pieces of the child's memories, with most of them sounding pretty dark and usually just being about how you have no friends and that your parents don't pay enough attention to you. This was also a pretty positive game, with a 3.8 on Xbox, getting reviews like 4 thumbs down, Psychonauts was better, and top. This game is to Bastion as Conker's Bad Fur Day was to Banjo-Kazooie, with it playing very similar and using a lot of the same mechanics, while being a much more crass and out there game. The thing I didn't understand while I was playing through though, was that Dusty and Piper can both swear all they want in the game, but when we fight our first boss, known as the Plague, he sings this little song where he's about to swear, but then censors himself and says something else. It's like they're on a cable network and only get to swear so many times before the network cuts them off the air. But this wasn't nearly enough to turn me off the game. This was actually a really cute and fun game that made me want to keep exploring and figuring out these puzzles. The only complaints I could really give would be that some of the animations that play when you interact with certain parts go on for a little long, and there is no skipping them no matter how many times you've got to turn on the faucet so you can spray that seed, as well as the combat not being very in-depth, but it doesn't seem to be the focus of the game. This wasn't my highlight of the day, but I had a blast while I played it, and would recommend this to anyone looking for a slower paced adventure puzzle game. I'll give this 3 traumatic experiences out of 5, and I'll Game Pass this on to you, as well as refer you to a good therapist. Last but not least, we have While the Iron's Hot by Humble Games from 2023. You start out as a blacksmith looking to make a living and start up their own shop, so you head out on a pirate ship, of course, where they promise to take you safely across the sea. Then you made it across, happy and safe. Oh god. Then the ship explodes for some reason and you get knocked out, which seems like how a lot of these games keep starting. You then wake up in a small rundown house where the man who found you explains where you are and that, lucky for you, he used to be a blacksmith, so he can help teach you. You then repair the old smith shop before getting to work hammering out your metal and crafting some tools. Now let me get this out of the way before we get too ahead of ourselves. While looking through the reviews for this game, many people were complaining about having lots of problems with soft locks and even hard lock, with most people not being able to make it past the first area. And in my experience, I had the same problem. I got to a point where it asks me to upgrade the smithing shop so I can make different materials that the main quest needs, but it just didn't pop up for me. I tried resetting, I tried doing lots of other side quests, and I just couldn't get this upgrade to work. This game scored only a 2.8 on Xbox, and I can see why. With reviews like, cute game, broke the cabin in the swamp, lost the shoes for the ox, and got trapped. This game was super fun, reminding me a lot of Potion Permit, with the forging being a collection of little minigames, before assembling all of your pieces and making things to fill out requests on the mission board. But it just seems like it's not playable, or at least not completable at this point in time. It's such a shame since it was so endearing, but since I couldn't even get past the first area, I'll have to give this only a 2 out of 5 anvils. And while I want to Game Pass it on to you, this comes with a warning that you might get just as stuck as I did, so be prepared. Now, if you've actually stuck around to the end of this, then congratulations! You've become the first person at this exact time and place and space to do that. For that, I'll give you 1 free answer from the Magic 8 Ball. Go ahead, ask a question. Ask again later? Well, better luck next time. I hope you enjoyed our time together, and as always, remember to like, subscribe, and leave a comment telling me about your experience with any of these games, or any games you'd like me to try out next. Laters.